You walk into a room, and within 5 seconds, someone has already decided if you're weak, if you're naive, if you're someone they can manipulate. You didn't say a word, but they already know. The question is, do you know who they are? Or are you walking through life being read like an open book while everyone else keeps their pages hidden? Let me tell you something. Most people are not taken advantage of because they're stupid. They're taken advantage of because they're unaware. They think the world is fair. They think people will tell them the truth. And that is the most dangerous mindset to walk around with. If you don't know how to read someone, how to truly see what's behind the smile, the handshake, the compliment, you're not just vulnerable. You're a target. You walk into a room and think you're starting fresh. But here's what no one tells you. Your story is already being written by the people around you, and you haven't even opened your mouth. In the first 5 seconds, someone has looked at your posture, your pace, your facial tension, how your eyes move, and they've already decided whether you're confident or unsure, a leader or a follower, a threat or a doormat. This isn't judgment, it's instinct. It's survival wiring. And every person you meet is doing this unconsciously. So, if you don't know how you're being perceived, you're walking through the world with a blindfold on while everyone else has night vision. That means you're being assessed every single day, by strangers, coworkers, even friends. And you better believe that people with bad intentions are the fastest to assess whether you're someone they can manipulate. They look for uncertainty. They test boundaries with small comments. They note your reactions. Are you agreeable just to keep the peace? Do you laugh nervously when someone challenges you? Do your eyes drop to the floor when someone stares at you a second too long? That's all data. You don't need to say a word. They already know if you're the kind of person they can take advantage of. This is why awareness is everything. You're not just living your life. You're communicating constantly, silently, and powerfully. And if you don't understand the language of presence, of energy, of posture, you'll be giving away more information than you realize. Your body tells people whether you expect respect or tolerate disrespect. Your energy tells people whether you lead or follow. And here's the brutal truth, the people who prey on others, they're not guessing, they're scanning. And if you're untrained, ungrounded, or unaware, you're easy to read, and easy to use. So before you try to read anyone else, you need to ask yourself, what story is my presence telling? Because if you don't shape that message intentionally, someone else will shape it for you, and it won't be in your favor. The ones you really need to watch out for aren't the loud ones. They're not the ones yelling or threatening or demanding attention. No, those are easy to see. The ones who do the most damage come wrapped in warmth. They smile. They compliment you. They make you feel like you're the smartest, most special person in the room. They seem generous. They make you feel seen. But that's not connection. That's strategy. That's how they lower your guard. Because they know the quickest way in is not through force, but through flattery. And you'll miss them if you're only looking for red flags that scream. These people don't scream. They whisper. They study you. They say just enough to earn your trust, but not enough to give away their true motives. They act like they understand you, like they've been where you've been. But if you pay attention, you'll notice something. There's a disconnect between their charm and their intent. They give you attention, but it feels like currency. Like they're buying access. Like there's a price tag coming later. See, charm is not sincerity. Manipulators use charm like a weapon. And if you've never been trained to look past the smile, past the soft words and carefully placed compliments, you'll confuse friend lines for goodness. And that's the danger, because when you associate nice with safe, you stop protecting yourself. You stop asking questions. You stop checking for motive. And that's exactly what they want. So when someone makes you feel amazing too fast, when they say all the right things too soon, when they seem to mirror your every thought and feeling, it's not a connection, it's a strategy. Stop being impressed by people who know how to make you feel good. Start being alert to the ones who try to win you over before they've earned it. Because the most dangerous people are not the ones who push, they're the ones who pull. They make you walk willingly into their trap. And by the time you realize it, they already have what they came for. People lie with their mouths, but their actions always tell the truth. That's why, if you want to protect yourself in this world, you need to stop listening so much and start watching more. Words are cheap. Anyone can say the right thing. Anyone can look you in the eye and promise you loyalty, love, commitment, support, whatever they think you want to hear. But talk is easy. Actions cost something, and that's where the truth lies. When someone tells you who they are, pay attention. But when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. You don't need a second betrayal to confirm the first one. You don't need someone to tell you they care if they never show up when it matters. You don't need someone to explain their intentions if their behavior contradicts everything they claim. What you need is clarity, and clarity lives in what people do, not what they say. See, manipulators rely on your need to believe in words. They want you hooked on potential. They want you waiting for change. They want you listening to their explanations instead of watching their patterns. And if you get caught in that trap, they will run circles around you. Because they know you're more focused on the story they're telling than the reality they're living. But a trained mind doesn't chase words. A trained mind watches consistency. Is this person aligned across their tone, timing, effort, and energy? Do they do what they say? Do they follow through? Or do they keep offering promises while giving you excuses? The truth is, someone can say, "I respect you," while constantly crossing your boundaries. Someone can say, "I love you," while eroding your self-worth. Someone can say, "I've changed," while showing you the exact same behavior that broke you the last time. You have to get brutally honest with yourself. Are you hearing what you want to hear, or are you facing what's actually in front of you? If their words and actions don't match, trust the actions. Every time. That's how you stop being fooled. That's how you take your power back. Because people can dress up intentions with beautiful language, but behavior is where the mask slips. That's where the real person comes out. And that's what you need to see. Not what they say they are, but what they consistently choose to be. Inconsistency is the language of manipulation. It's the tactic of people who don't want to be known, only trusted. And if you're not paying attention, it'll confuse you into thinking it's your fault. One day they're warm, attentive, texting you all day. The next they're cold, distant, and unavailable. 1 minute they're cheering you on, the next they're undermining your confidence. And they'll never give you a clear explanation for that shift. Because the shift is intentional. It keeps you off balance. It makes you question yourself instead of questioning them. But here's the truth. People who are real, grounded, and emotionally healthy do not fluctuate like that. They're steady. They're congruent. Their words match their energy. Their behavior doesn't leave you second-guessing where you stand. They don't use silence as punishment or affection as reward. Manipulators, on the other hand, do. They keep you guessing. They know if they show up consistently, you'll get clarity. And clarity gives you power. So they give you just enough to stay hopeful, but never enough to feel secure. That's the cycle they count on, the emotional high of their attention, followed by the low of their withdrawal. And over time, you start craving their approval like a drug. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's control. That's them managing your self-worth through their inconsistency. And if you don't recognize that pattern, you'll end up emotionally bankrupt. Constantly giving more to someone who treats you like a you want to protect yourself. Watch the pattern. Watch the repeats. A real person doesn't need to shift gears to keep you engaged. They don't need to confuse you to feel powerful. So when someone keeps changing, when their version of themselves changes depending on who they're around, what mood they're in, or what they want from you, believe that, because that inconsistency isn't just random, it's the blueprint of manipulation. And the moment you stop rationalizing it and start recognizing it, you'll finally stop being controlled by it. When someone tries to skip steps with you, pay attention. That's not love, that's a tactic. Real connection takes time. Trust is earned slowly, through repeated action, through showing up when it's inconvenient, through being there when there's nothing to gain. But manipulators don't want to wait. They don't want to earn your trust. They want to bypass the process and get straight to access. That's why they rush intimacy. That's why, within days, they're telling you you're different. You're special. They've never felt this way before. They make you feel like you've known them forever, like this bond is something rare and magical. And that intensity, it's not deep, it's calculated. That intensity is designed to make you overlook what you should be questioning, to make you feel like you're in something extraordinary, when in reality, you're being pulled into something manipulative. And if you're not grounded, that kind of attention can feel intoxicating. It makes you drop your guard. You start opening up faster. You reveal more. And the moment you hand over those emotional details, they file it all away, for later use. Now you're bonded, and you think it's mutual. But the truth is, they're not giving you intimacy. They're faking it. Real intimacy isn't just vulnerability. It's consistency over time. It's being seen fully and still being respected. But a manipulator doesn't care about truly knowing you. They care about creating the illusion that you're already close, so they can influence you faster, so they can guilt you into loyalty, so they can leverage that false connection when it serves them. And if you ever step back, question things, or slow it down, they'll accuse you of being guarded or cold. They'll guilt you for not trusting fast enough. But here's what I know: real people respect your pace. They don't get offended when you need time. It's only those with something to hide who try to force the bond. So if you ever feel like someone is emotionally fast, forwarding the relationship, like you've skipped the part where you truly get to know each other, don't ignore that. That's not passion. That's pressure, and pressure is never part of real trust. It's a trap wrapped in affection. And once you're in, it's a lot harder to see clearly. That's why you spot it early. That's why you slow it down. Because anyone worth having in your life will never rush you to trust them. They'll show you why you can. The second someone can control your emotions, they control your decisions. And when your emotions are running the show, logic is nowhere to be found. That's exactly what manipulators count on. They don't just want your attention. They want your reactions. They want to provoke you, push your buttons, trigger you, because the moment you react, they've found your weakness. That emotional response, that's data to them. It tells them what hurts you, what drives you, what you're afraid of. And once they have that, they don't need to overpower you. They can guide you like a puppet. You've got to understand. Your emotional control isn't just about staying calm. It's about protecting your power. Because when someone gets you angry enough to lash out, or hurt enough to beg, or confused enough to doubt yourself, they've just shifted the dynamic. They've taken the upper hand. Now you're chasing clarity. Now you're defending yourself. Now you're explaining things you shouldn't have to explain. And that right there is the trap. They pull you into a storm, and then blame you for the thunder. But when you stay centered, when you stay calm, when you don't give them the reaction they're looking for, something powerful happens. You become unreadable. You become untouchable. You become someone they can't figure out. Someone they can't get under the skin of. And that drives them crazy, because people who manipulate need feedback. They need to know their tactics are working. And when they don't get that emotional payoff from you, they lose control. So the next time someone says something to provoke you, pause. Don't react. Study. Ask yourself, not, why are they doing this? But, what are they trying to see in me? Don't give them that. Don't hand over the code to your emotional system. Because once someone can predict your emotional responses, they can steer your life without you even realizing it. Emotional control isn't weakness. It's not about bottling things up. It's about strategy. It's about choosing when and where to respond, if at all. It's about creating distance between their game and your peace. And the people who master that, they stop being manipulated. They start leading the room. Because they're no longer owned by emotion. They own it. When someone doesn't want you to see the truth, they won't lie with a straight no. They'll lie by dodging, by dancing around the question, by smiling too wide or talking too much. And if you're not paying attention, you'll walk away thinking you got an answer, when what you really got was a performance. That's why, if you want to truly read someone, stop obsessing over what they say and start noticing what they avoid. Avoidance is a defense mechanism. It's how people protect the parts of themselves they don't want you to see. And the smarter they are, the more subtle it looks. They'll change the subject with humor. They'll answer a question with a question. They'll act offended just to shut down the conversation. And you'll think, maybe I pushed too hard. No, you didn't. They just didn't want you close to the truth. This is the difference between surface-level observers and strategic thinkers. Most people listen for stories. Trained people listen for gaps, for the missing pieces, for the things that should be there, but aren't. You ask someone about their past, and they give you a vague timeline. You ask what they want, and they give you a vague answer. You ask about accountability, and suddenly it's everyone else's fault. That's not randomness. That's evasion. The best manipulators aren't liars in the obvious sense. They're masters of misdirection. They know how to sound open without actually giving you anything real. And here's the tricking. They know you'll fill in the blanks for them. They know most people want to believe the best, so they'll leave just enough out to let your imagination do the work. But that's how you get played. So train yourself to lean in when someone avoids something. That's not the time to back off. It's the time to slow down, zoom in, and ask better questions, not aggressive ones, strategic ones. Make it harder for them to escape. Make the silence uncomfortable. Because people reveal their truth not when they're talking smoothly, but when they're caught off guard, when they lose the script. That's when the real person shows up. Watch the dodge, watch the delay, watch the disconnect between the energy of their answer and the content of their words. The avoidance is the answer. You just have to be sharp enough to catch it, and bold enough not to ignore it. You want power, real power. Stop being predictable. The moment people can figure you out, what drives you, what triggers you, what scares you, what you'll do next. They don't have to overpower you. They just steer you, like a remote control. One push and you react exactly how they want. That's not strength. That's programming. And it's how people who understand influence will control every part of your life without ever raising their voice. So if you want to be the one who sees, who decides, who leads, you've got to stop letting people read you like an open book. You have to become a mystery. Look, we're living in a world obsessed with oversharing. People wear their emotions on their sleeves. They announce their dreams to anyone who will listen. They post their every move like it's some kind of proof of value. And in that chaos, the people with real power stay quiet. They observe. They collect data. They stay 5 moves ahead while the rest are broadcasting their plans before they even take the first step. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage. You're handing over your playbook before the game even begins. Do you know how many people walk into a room and instantly show everyone who they are? They don't even realize they're doing it. The way they talk, the way they move, the way they laugh too loud or explain too much. They're trying to be liked, trying to be understood, trying to be accepted. But what they don't realize is that every piece of information they give away is leverage in the wrong hands. Because when someone knows what you need, they can control you. When they know what you fear, they can paralyze you. And when they know your next move, they can block it before you even make it. So if you want to be unreadable, you have to discipline your mouth, learn the value of silence, learn the power of pause. When someone asks you a question, you don't owe them your truth. You owe yourself your peace. Let them wonder. Let them guess. The more room you give people to assume, the more power you keep. Because confusion, when used correctly, is protection. Not because you're hiding, but because you understand this. Clarity is for you. Confusion is for them. Think about it, the most dangerous people in the room are never the ones talking the loudest. It's the quiet ones. The ones who listen more than they speak. The ones who seem calm while everyone else is reacting. That's not weakness. It's intelligence. Because when you're quiet, you gather information. You watch what others miss. You let people show you who they really are without giving away who you are in return. And while they're busy trying to impress or dominate, you're positioning yourself. You're studying their strategy. You're preparing your move while they expose their own. The hardest person to manipulate is the one who doesn't need to be understood. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to correct someone's assumption about you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them create their own version of who they think you are. Because while they're focused on the version of you they created, the real you stays protected. That's not deception. That's survival. Understand this? Manipulators hate confusion. They need to know what works on you. They test your buttons, your emotional soft spots, your ego. They want a response. They want proof their strategy works. And when they don't get that, when you stay calm, unreadable, untouched by their tactics, that's when they lose control. Because they can't manipulate what they can't read. You ever see someone get under someone's skin and walk away smiling? That wasn't power. That was emotional control. And the person who reacted, they lost. Because the moment you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of the situation. So instead of reacting, start studying. Instead of revealing, start observing. You want to know who really has power. It's the person who can sit in a room full of chaos, stay silent, and still own the energy in that space. And don't mistake silence for weakness. Silence is a strategy, a weapon, a shield. When you withhold your intentions, your dreams, your struggles, your triggers, you become untouchable. That doesn't mean you can't be honest, but it means your truth is earned, not given. You don't hand it out to anyone with a smile and a soft voice. You don't tell your story to people who haven't proven they deserve it. Because every time you reveal a piece of yourself to someone who hasn't earned it, you risk giving power to someone who may use it against you. You think people want to connect. Some do, but many want access. And access is not love, access is not loyalty, access is not trust. Some people want to get close just so they can figure out how to disarm you. And when they can't read you, when you don't give them the information they crave, they get uncomfortable. They call you cold. They call you distant. Good. Let them. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You need to be respected by the right ones. Being unreadable doesn't mean being fake. It means being strategic. You choose what to reveal and when. You keep your plans private until they're complete. You keep your pain to yourself until it's healed. You keep your boundaries so firm that people don't even question where they are. Because power isn't about being loud. Power is about being solid, quiet, unshakable. And let me tell you something else. When you master this, you change the way you move through the world. You don't walk in trying to be liked. You walk in knowing exactly who you are, and letting others reveal themselves to you first. You speak less but say more. You listen not to respond, but to gather intel. You wait before you react. Because you understand the person who reacts first is the one who loses the advantage. So be the one who's hard to read. Be the one they can't figure out. Be the one who doesn't need to post every thought, share every plan, or justify every move. Because while they're busy trying to understand you, you're 3 steps ahead. While they're scrambling to get a reaction, you're controlling the outcome. That's not mystery for mystery's sake. That's power. That's control. That's freedom. And the day you stop trying to explain yourself, the day you stop oversharing your every thought, the day you stop handing out the map to your mind, is the day you become unstoppable. Because now you're not just walking through the world, you're commanding it. Not with noise, not with ego, but with silence, presence, and discipline. Stay unreadable, stay unpredictable. Because the less they know about you, the less they can use against you. When you really want to know someone, truly know them, you don't just listen to their answers. You study how they respond to pressure. Because anyone can fake honesty when there's no consequence, when everything's calm, when the questions are easy and the room is comfortable. But the second you push just a little, the second you introduce friction, discomfort, or unpredictability, that's when the mask starts to crack. And you better be watching, because that's where the truth leaks out. See, most people ask questions to get answers, but trained people, people who think like interrogators, like protectors, like strategists, they ask to expose patterns. They don't just ask, what happened? They ask, why do you think that happened? How did you feel when it did? What did you do afterward? And then they listen. Not for the content, but for the inconsistencies, the deflections, the nervous laughter, the rehearsed language that sounds too polished, too clean, too perfect to be real. Because the truth is, lies are scripted. Authenticity isn't. If you want to read someone, stop being so quick to fill the silence. Ask, and then wait. Let it get uncomfortable. Let them squirm. Don't bail them out by rephrasing the question. Don't apologize for the tension. That discomfort, that's the gold. Because real people will sit in it with you. Real people don't flinch when you get honest. But manipulators, they panic when the script runs out. And the more you ask, the more that script unravels. And here's the other thing. Don't just listen to what they say. Watch their body when they say it. Does their tone shift? Do their shoulders tighten? Are they suddenly blinking more, breathing faster, breaking eye contact? That's not random. That's physiological truth trying to fight its way to the surface. Because the body doesn't lie. When the mind is constructing a lie, the body is trying to survive it. And if you're trained, you'll catch it before they even finish their sentence. Most people are too focused on being polite. They don't want to ask questions that might offend. They don't want to make someone uncomfortable. But let me ask you this. What's more dangerous? Asking a bold question, or letting the wrong person into your life because you were too afraid to dig deeper? You don't ask to be rude. You ask to be certain, because the cost of not knowing who someone really is can be devastating. So ask, and then step back and study. Don't just hear their words. Watch the delay before they speak. Watch if they over-explain. Watch if they answer questions you didn't ask. Those are the signs. Those are the cracks in the story. The people who are honest don't need 20 sentences to give you one truth, but the ones hiding something. They'll dress it up, soften the edges, redirect your focus. It's a performance, and your job is to stay quiet long enough to let it fall apart. You want to know someone? Don't just listen. Test. Make the conversation inconvenient. Interrupt the rhythm. Ask something unexpected. Change direction mid-topic and watch if they keep their story straight. You don't need to interrogate them. But you do need to challenge the version of themselves they're presenting. Because anyone can act honest when it's easy. But it's how they react to a little friction that shows you who they really are. The smartest person in the room isn't the one who talks the most. It's the one who observes, probes, and pays attention when others stop. Because in that space, behind the polished answers and rehearsed lines, is where the real identity lies. And once you learn to spot it, you'll never be taken in by appearances again. When you can truly see someone for who they are, you don't need to argue with them. You don't need to confront, expose, or beg them to admit the truth. You already know it, and that knowing, that quiet, unshakable clarity, that's your advantage. Because when you understand someone's core, their patterns, their intent, you stop trying to change them. You stop reacting to their behavior. You stop making excuses or giving endless second chances. Instead, you adjust, you adapt. You move in silence and start protecting your energy without announcing your strategy. People always think that power means speaking up, standing your ground, calling someone out. But sometimes, power looks like not reacting at all. Sometimes, it's watching someone try to manipulate you and giving them nothing. No emotion, no access, no signal that their tactics worked. Because when they can't get a response, they can't get control, and that drives them insane. They thrive on your need to be understood, on your need to be validated, on your desire to prove them wrong. Don't give them that power. The minute you start arguing with someone you already know is lying, you've already lost. Because now you're inside their game. You're playing on their field, by their rules, chasing logic from someone who doesn't operate on it. But when you see through them, when you recognize their pattern, whether it's gaslighting, guilt-tripping, playing victim, you don't have to call it out. You just act accordingly. You shift your boundaries. You protect your peace. You become untouchable, not because you fought back loud, but because you stepped out of their reach completely. And here's the thing, they notice. Oh, they notice. When you stop explaining, when you stop defending, when you stop engaging, they feel it. And they'll test you. They'll push harder. They'll switch tactics. They'll try everything to pull you back into that dance. But when you've really seen someone's true self, there's no more room for doubt. And when doubt is gone, so is control. That's how you win. Quietly. Strategically. You don't need to warn them. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You don't need to post quotes about cutting people off. You just stop feeding them the access they were never meant to have. And the shift in your behavior will speak louder than any confrontation ever could. Reading people isn't about exposing them to the world. It's about exposing them to yourself, so you never fall into their trap again. So you don't waste time hoping they'll change, or twisting yourself to make it work. You see the truth, you own it, and then you act in a way that honors what you know. The most powerful people don't talk about who they've figured out. They just move differently. And once you master that level of discernment, you stop living on defense and start living on purpose, because now you're not just protecting yourself, you're leading yourself with precision, with intelligence, and with the kind of quiet strength that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. The truth is, in this world, you're either being read or you're doing the reading. You're either leading with awareness or you're being led by illusion. The people who thrive, the ones who don't get used, played, or broken, aren't the loudest, the toughest, or the most liked. They're the ones who see, the ones who study before they speak, who trust patterns over promises, who know when to stay silent, and when to walk away without needing to explain a thing. You don't need to be aggressive to be powerful. You don't need to expose anyone to win. Your strength lies in your ability to observe without being seen, to stay calm under pressure, to understand what someone's trying to hide without ever letting them know you know. And when you operate from that level of awareness, the game changes, because now you're the one with the advantage, not by luck, not by force, but by discipline, intelligence, and emotional control. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to be respected by the right ones. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to protect it, so don't just walk into the room. Own it, not by talking the loudest but by seeing the most, not by reacting but by knowing. That's how you stop being a target and start becoming the one no one can touch.